Hey everybody, my name is Jonathan Campbell. I work for Minnesota State Services for the Blind, and in this video I'm going to be teaching you how to use your iPhone or other smartphone as a digital magnifier. We're also going to talk a little bit near the back end on how to make an impromptu stand to use for an app like Seeing AI or KNFB Reader, for example. So for this demonstration I am going to be using an iPhone and using a specific feature called the Magnifier feature built into it. Although you can actually use any smartphone, and you're just going to use the camera app instead of the magnifier app, and you're just going to do everything basically the same, but you're going to have a couple features a little bit different. So just because you don't have an iPhone doesn't mean you shouldn't follow along with this video here. So I've got an iPhone. This one happens to be a 10, but this will work on any iPhone from the last couple of years easily here. So what you might not know is that the iPhone has a built-in feature called Magnifier. And you can get to it one of two ways. The easiest way is to ask Siri, "Hey Siri, open Magnifier." And that'll pop you right into it. But if you want to do away without Siri, if I go into the Settings app, then I scroll down to Accessibility, you'll see a section called Magnifier. You just want to make sure that's in the on position. Then you can either press the home button if you have one on your iPhone, or the side button if you've got a 10 or 11. We press it 3 times in a row and then open up the magnifier as well. Now once we've got the magnifier open, in order to zoom in and out, we actually just drag up and down across the screen, or we can pinch. So I hold up my text here, point the camera at what I want to see, and I can drag up. It'll magnify the text for me. Now also within the magnifier app there's a couple of buttons here. Now they're quite small, I know, but if you know about where they are, they're not too hard to use. In the very bottom right corner there's a button that looks like 3 little circles, and that represents the different filters we can have. So if I tap on that little button there, that puts us into filter mode. So while I'm pointing it at my object, I can actually swipe to the side, and here I've got a blue background. We've got the yellow text on a blue background, grayscale, yellow on black, red on black. There's also some adjustments across the bottom that allow me to adjust the contrast and the brightness. So I'll drag that here, just like brightness, contrast. And there we go. We get a nice sharp image, and and if I tap that little button on the corner again, it puts me back into regular mode. I can now zoom in and out again, and I can get a much better look at my text. Of course, I can also hold this sideways so I can see more text at a time. Once you've got the filter set the way you want, it's going to remember it, so you don't have to go back and readjust it over and over again. So as you might have noticed, holding this upright, it's hard to get a really steady picture. So the nice thing is, if I hold this a little farther away and then tap the white button at the bottom, it'll basically take a photograph. I can then go and zoom in by doing my pinch gesture and adjust and look at the picture that way. A lot easier than having to hold it absolutely steady and move it around. So this magnification feature is pretty great, but if you're going to be using it to read something much longer, like a book for example, you're not going to want to hold this with your hand. Now you can go online and find a variety of iPhone stands. Some of them are meant to hold the phone or a tablet by your bed. Some of them are made to hold them upright. There's even some designed specifically for pointing at documents, but they can be a little hard to get a hold of, especially considering we're making this video in the middle of a pandemic. So I've got a homemade version of it. It's not the most elegant, but it's certainly functional, and it uses things that you can probably find in your home right now. So you might have noticed in the background, I've got this monstrosity here. So what I've done here is I've taken several cookbooks and I stacked them on top of each other. Then I took a plastic level, it's about 2 feet long, and I placed that on top of them, hanging off about a foot or so. Then I took 2 cans of clam chowder, nice and heavy, and I put them on top of the level to keep it from tilting when I put the phone on top of it. So then I just placed the phone on top of the level. It's hanging out about a foot. It gives me plenty of room to place a document underneath it that the camera can see. I do recommend, if you have a rubber band or something, maybe attaching it there to make it a little bit more steady. I don't have one, so I'm just going to be very careful here. And what that'll do is hold the camera above whatever I'm trying to magnify here. So I can get in close, I can get a better look at that phone. I've got it nice and stable. I can put my book underneath, and I can move it around. I can do my zoom in and zoom out. And I've got a lot more stable surface to work on here. You're going to want to make sure that your stand's at least 6 inches above your table, because the iPhone camera is not designed to focus at a really close macro level. It actually wants a bit of a distance, so you're going to need something here. Now, I've got it here pretty low because I want to make sure my magnification is going to make my images nice and big. And that's exactly what it's doing here. I've got very little text in this book. It's a really tiny font. It allows me to zoom in at my max and still get a nice big image, because the iPhone screen's not that big to begin with. Of course, you could do this with an iPad, but it's going to be a bit more awkward. So this will work great for labels, envelopes, short little things, but let's say you want to read something much bigger. I've got a whole novel here, and reading this line by line at high magnification, although possible, it's going to be exhausting after a while here. Now, one of the best things you can do is take advantage of the library services. The National Library Service offers audiobooks for the blind and low vision, especially here in Minnesota, and you can contact state services for the blind in order to find out more about what type of audio services and audiobooks are available to you. But if we're looking at trying to do something at home right now, we can actually use an app to turn any book into something that's audible. We're going to be using, in this example, the app Seeing AI, but you could also use the app KNFB Reader. That's KNFB Reader. Basically what these apps do is they take a photograph or scan the book, convert it into text the phone can understand, and then reads it out loud again. Now, if we're going to be doing this, book pages, we're going to want to make sure the camera can see the whole page here. So we're going to want to raise this stand up, because I don't really have it high enough for that. Okay, now I've got it up much higher, about, let's see, about 10.5 to 11 inches above my table. I'm going to take my phone, I'm going to open up Seeing AI and place it on top. I'm going to put it crosswise on my level here, because I want to make sure I can see the whole page of the book. You might need to fiddle around to get it to be just right for you. So let's go ahead and do that. Open Seeing AI.
Law 2.2 use.
So Seeing AI is going to open up in short text mode, and I can actually use it in this mode here, although it's better for the covers of books, envelopes, things like that. Let me show you what I mean here. I'm going to place this across the top. I'm going to take the cover of this book and put it underneath.
How not to be wrong. The Power, New York Times bestseller. How not to be wrong. The Power of Mathematical Thinking. Jordan O. Ellenberg. One of Bill Gates' 10 favorite books.
All right, and it reads the cover of the book out loud. It made a couple of mistakes here. One is because we've got this graphic of it's a dart, and it's going partially through the word not. It makes it harder for it to read. And I wasn't holding it flat, which means some of the letters were a little bit distorted. So it can make mistakes. It's important that we place our object underneath and we hold it down flat so it can read it properly. Now, short text is going to be fine for the covers of the books, labels, things like that. It reads anything that gets placed underneath it. It's rather quick. But if I want to read the whole page of a book, if the book's moving at all or adjusting, that can cause an issue. And I also want to make sure I catch the whole page, not just part of it when I line it up underneath.
HOV not to be wrong.
It can be a little bit tough to use.
You can tell a similar story about the North Carolina lotteries.
So the important thing to do is, if you're reading in the entire page of the book, is to adjust its mode. And on the screen it has a button that says a document. I'm going to tap on that.
Document.
And now, if I take this book and place it underneath, I can capture an entire page here. Now, I've got a nice fold here. I've got a lot of text here. To make it a little bit easier, because I don't want to get too much at once, I'm actually going to use a piece of construction paper to cover up one of the pages of the book. That way I'm just doing one page at a time. I find that this works the best here. So what I'm going to do is cover this up, place this underneath the best I can. When Seeing AI sees all four corners of this white page here, it's going to take a picture and give me the results. So let's go ahead and give that a try.
Hold steady. Processing.
All right, so on the screen right now, I've got the results. And if I tap the very bottom left corner, or if I've got voiceover on, I can flick to the right to start reading this. So I'm going to tap the bottom left.
Body, font family, Arial, font size, 12 points. 72 hog not to be wrong discrepancy is governed by the square root of the number of coins you toss 100 times as many coins as before, and the typical discrepancy grows by a factor of 10, at least, in absolute terms, as a proportion of the total number of tosses.
Now I'm going to tap that bottom left corner. This is a math book, so it's a little bit heavy, but it's actually really good. I do suggest it. If I let it go, it's going to read that entire page of that book. I can then flip my construction paper to the other side, scan the next page, and continue. So I could do an entire document, I can go through my mail this way, and I could make it through a book if I do it page by page as well, although it's a little bit monotonous, and it will make mistakes from time to time. But if you're trying to get through that book, it's not available as an audiobook, and it's not a bad way to do it, to be honest. So there you have it, how to make a homemade stand and use your iPhone as a magnifier or even as a reading device.